Welcome back to the Real Estate and Wealth Podcast. And today we are talking about something that's kind of didn't think about. I was watching a podcast episode with John Hope Bryant, and he mentioned your credit score is going to determine where you live. And that got me thinking because that's kind of true. It really is true. If you have a low credit score, you got to live wherever you can live, where someone is going to accept your, poor credit history and take a chance on you. And you don't have a lot of options. You can't buy a house, and you have to find someone that is just okay with your low credit score, and you might be required to put an extra security deposit, or might be required to give like an extra month's rent. So that means that's going to cost you more money. But when you think about this, right, if you have a higher credit score, you have more options. You can live pretty much where you want to live, within reason, of course, where you can afford. But if you can afford to live in a nicer area with a higher credit score, they run your application and they're going to say approved. When I was buying, my husband and I, when we were buying the house that we live in now, we sold our old house, and there was like a 7-month gap between when we sold and when our new house was going to be ready. And we had to get an apartment for the 6 to 7 months. And I remember I had to put in the application, and put in the application. It was like, yeah, you're approved. What day you want to move in? And I'm like, okay, y'all don't need like to see any documentation. They're like, no. I was like, okay, that's different. And I like that. And so areas that um, are more affluent generally are either going to have people with higher credit scores or people who have cash that was able to purchase their homes with cash, or in areas that are maybe a nicer rental building, they probably have better credit. And it's so true. It's something that I never thought about. But yes, your credit score is going to determine where you live. I remember I don't really work with renters anymore just because I don't have the time. But when I did work with renters, and renters would come to me, and one of the first questions I would ask them is, what is your credit score? Some of them knew, many of them said it's not that great. And I think they thought that if they had a lower credit score, that they would have a better chance getting a rental from a private landlord opposed to an apartment building. And that's not usually always the case, because think about it. An apartment building, they have several apartments. So if one person didn't pay their rent, it might not have a huge impact on them. But a private landlord, maybe they only have one or two rental properties. If that one person didn't pay their rent for 1 or 2 months, that all falls on that one landlord to have to cover those bills. If the property has a lien on it, like a mortgage, and they don't pay, it's going to affect their personal credit. So it's usually the private landlords sometimes are going to be way more critical of the person that they rent to, because it will have a larger impact on them if that person didn't pay their rent. So that's kind of like a false thought of renters thinking that they can go the private landlord route and be able to get in. And it doesn't always work that way. So if you have a lower credit score, I recommend that maybe live with family and try to focus on building up your credit score. And if you don't have any family or friends that you can stay with for a few months to allow you time to improve your credit score, maybe pay down debt, then I recommend that you live where you can, maybe do a shorter lease, or if you have to do a 1-year lease, and really, really focus on working on your credit. usually the thing that causes you to have low credit scores is a lot of debt. So your debt to income ratio is too high. And also late payment history. So focusing on making sure you're making your payments on time and you're reducing the amount of debt that you have. If you can focus on those two things, you'll start seeing your credit score improve, and it will allow you to have more options when you're seeking out places to live. If you were able to relate to this episode, feel free to make comments. Let me know what you think, or if you have questions, put it in the comment section. But of course, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you would like to hear more. See you on the next episode.